So the first thing I'd like to share with you, you may have already heard about this, I don't know. But we got an email today from Janie Summers, who's kind of our, for lack of better words, our like possible employer job coordinator. And a week from today is the job fair in St. Louis. Now, I've got to talk to Mr. Corrigan. If Mr. Corrigan wants me to go to that, I'm going to go. It's 9 to 12. That doesn't affect your class. But after the job fair, we have an advisory committee meeting. If Mr. Corrigan says, yeah, I want you to go to that meeting, I'm going to cancel class Thursday, period. All right. If he says, no, you can go there over Teams, because I think that's what some people are going to do, then the meeting is going to be 12:30 to 1:30. So what we'll do on that day is we'll just make that Thursday will be a lab day, and I won't be available till after 1:30. But I'll let you know as soon as I know. Now, from what I heard from Mr. Gudmested, there is a record number of companies that have signed up to come to this job fair. Last year was pretty high. It was about 375. From what I've heard, it's now at 550. Now, I would say even if I don't know, maybe 5%, if 5% of 150, are IT related and related, to something where, you might be able to get a job from there. All right. So like I said, even if it's just 5%, that's 27 or 28 people. All right. So you may want to consider going. I can't make you go. Even if I could make you go, I wouldn't try. But especially those of you, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it on tape, either way, those of you who are going to graduate in December, I would strongly recommend that you go. All right. For those of you, and I know that's most of you, and probably all three of you here, who are going to graduate in May, there'll be another job fair in April. All right. In addition, especially for you, Michael, and I don't know where all of you live, I'm not asking, there will be a job fair at the Wentzville campus at the beginning of next month. I don't have the exact date, but I'll get it for you. I think it might even be November 1st. I don't know. All right. But the point is, it's not nearly the size because we don't have the room at Wentzville that they have at St. Louis. So there'll probably be about 50 companies there. And out of those 50 companies, there'll probably be a handful, like 2 or 3, or maybe up to 5 that have interest in IT people. All right. Just like I said, I'm just bringing that up just so that you're aware of it. The other thing going along with that, because I am supposed to share this stuff, and that's why I'm doing it, is, let's see. There we go. There is a job fair boot camp at both the Wentzville location on next Tuesday, and next Wednesday, and at the St. Louis location Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Notice what it says. Employers will critique resumes, give interview tips, and prepare students for the job fair. I don't know. I have not been told whom any of these people who are coming to this are. I have no idea. In an ideal world, some of those people coming would be the people that you'd want to talk to at the job fair. In other words, they'd be people who have an interest in IT hirings, but I don't know. We just got this morning, fairly late this morning, so I have no idea where it stands. All right. So I just wanted to bring both those up. So this is going to screw up my share, I'm sure, but that's fine. And let me get rid of that too. Okay. All right. So with that said, then, what I'd like everybody to do, we're going to attempt to build an API. All right. Stupidly, I started on this late yesterday. I've got it about 60% done. And of course, knowing me, I did the easy stuff. So we'll talk about it once we get to that point. But what I'd like everybody to do, please, is I would like you to go out to your desktop or wherever you normally go to do this kind of thing. All right. And that's where I'm going to do is I'm just going to go out to the desktop in just a second. As soon as I open it, there we go. All right, so from my File Explorer in my desktop, I'm just going to create a new folder. This is one that you might want to save. Again, it's up to you. All right, and I'm just going to call it Mongo API, MONGO API. All right, so I'm going to create that there, and then I'm going to bring that folder up inside of Visual Studio Code in about 15 seconds. And I know I've got to change my share. I'm going to do that as well. All right, so that is up. All right, so I'm up here. I've got Mongo API up and running. All right, and I'm going to do a view terminal. So I've got a terminal showing you. You have all told me in the past that you can see the terminal that's down here. That's good. So we're going to start this up the way we would normally start up stuff. All right, so I'm going to do an npm init -y. Which, as you know, will create our package.json file. I'm going to quickly open up that package.json file, make a couple superficial changes. So I'm going to change my main to app.js. I'm going to get rid of this test script, and I'm going to replace it with what we usually do, which is start and node app.js, and then a comma, and then our dev start. Which is, we're going to have nodemon app.js, and we'll set all this stuff up in just a second. Again, that's really all you need. If you want to put your name in there, fine. You may or may not end up saving this. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to do a file. Come on, get out of there. File, come on. Save, there we go. All right, I'm going to close the package.json and come down to my terminal again. And from my terminal, I'm going to do what we typically do. That is, I'm going to do an npm I. And what we're going to put in here are three different things, those being express, body parser, and also MongoJS. Now, we're using MongoJS now because with this API that we're creating, we're basically just doing it from inside of the shell. All right. Next week, when we move on and we move into Mongoose, we're not going to be including or installing MongoJS anymore. We're going to be actually installing Mongoose. We'll talk about that at that time. All right. So hit enter. And afterwards, I'm also going to do a npm I -d on nodemon. So all right, so that should be at least everything that we need as far as our setup. I'm going to go back and double check. Dev dependencies, there's nodemon. My regular dependencies, there's my other ones. So that's fine. All right. So with that said, the only file we're going to be caring about in here right now, at least, is going to be the app.js. So let's start with that one. So I'm going to create a new file. Again, it will be app.js. I'm not concerned here with it looking pretty or anything else in here. So I'm going to go and create 5 constants to begin with. So we're going to require express and body parser. And MongoJS. I'll set my port. Pick out any one you want. I picked out 5678. Doesn't really matter. Well, I'm going to do it actually because this is what we're going to be transitioning towards again. Process.env.port port or 5678. And finally, const app equals express. All right. I'm going to have just one app.use in here. We're not worried about a public in here. We're not going to do any EJS. All right. We're not going to be doing anything with forms, so we don't need the URL encoded. Everything that we're going to work on in here that we work on will be using JSON. So I want an app.use here with body parser .json. All right. And with that said, then I'm ready to start creating my routes. Now we're going to create them in here for now, and we'll move them around later. All right. In fact, before I even do this, let's just, do what we usually do. So we'll put an app.listen in here and port. So hopefully you caught up to me. All right. And if you do need anything repeated or you need me to move around, as always, just let me know. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this. There we go. And move that down. So that's pretty much everything so far. All right. And that's grayed out because we're not using it yet. We will in just a moment. All right. So the first thing I like to do, though, is to set up all of the routes. And we're going to keep it real simple at first so we can go test everything quickly. So we're going to make an app.get, and this will be our home route. And a little bit different than what we have been doing. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to let the user know if they come here where they should go to actually run this API. So I'm going to do a res.send, and I'm just going to put a message in here that says, please use /API/products. We are going to be working with the products collection. I sent that to you today, so you should have that. And I also resent the customers. We're not going to do anything today with customers. All right. We could use that one as well, but we're going to use products. Why? Because the products table has some numeric fields in it, just so we get some practice using that. All right. So if we run this right now, and I'm not going to, but if we run this right now and go out to localhost 5678, we should get that message that just tells us that. Okay, I'm going to put in the other 5 routes that we usually use. So let me just copy this. So it'll be /API/products. And I should be doing a better job than I'm doing as far as let's put a little bit, at least minimal documentation, or minimum documentation rather. So this will be our homepage route. All right. Then down here, this we'll just call it, for lack of better words, we'll say, because what we're going to do is we will be fetching all products. All right, so that's what we're going to do next, and we'll finish that in just a second. So again, it'll be /API/products, not product, /products. All right, and for now, we're just going to say listing of all products. And we're doing this just so that in about 2 minutes, we're going to bring this up in Postman and we're going to check all of the routes to make sure they're working. All right. And then we'll actually write them. So that'll be for fetching all products. Then we will just fetch one product or an individual, maybe single product would be better. I don't know. So again, we can grab this, copy it down. You already know this. The difference will be, we'll need here a /:ID and that, oops, geez Louise. And that :ID again is just a placeholder. All right. So this will be products. And again, it'll have our /:ID here. And we're just going to say list single product. All right. So we now have 2 of our 5 routes. We've got just this home one that's going to, basically tell you where to go, for lack of better words. And then we've got our one to fetch everything and our one to fetch one. So let's put our add new product in here. So I'm going to grab all this. Whoops. I'm going to grab all of this because I don't feel like typing any more than I have to. So this will be add new product. And it'll be a post. And we'll just say that, add new product. All right. We need to be able to update an existing product. And we need to be able to delete an existing product. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. And I'm going to come down here and do both of those. So this will be update a single product. All right. So this will be, for now at least, we'll be using a put. I tried to get it to work with a patch. It wouldn't. All right. And I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. So this will say updated single product. And then finally, our last one down here, which will be our delete. We're deleting a single product. Whoops, come on. So that'll be an app.delete. And again, the message will be delete single product. Or deleted, whatever. All right, so that's everything. I'm looking up here. Yeah, I don't need that. Okay, so we've got, I'm going to take it from the top very quickly. Express, body parser, MongoJS, and we set up our port, and then we instantiated our occurrence of Express. Okay, we put the app.use in there because we're going to be working solely with JSON in this API. All right. We've got our homepage route. You can see it right there. It's not going to do much. We've got all of them don't do much. We've got our get route to get everything. We've got our get route to get a single product. We've got our post route to add a new product. We've got our put route to update a new product. All right. And finally, we've got our delete. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more route right underneath the put. And I'm going to copy everything from the put. And we're going to see if we can try to do this with a patch. So we're going to have both a put and a patch. Again, recall that the difference between these two is when you are doing a put, you are virtually updating every field. Whereas when you are doing a patch, you're just telling it the fields you want to update. All right. And I'm not going to lie to you. We're right now, within the next half hour or so, we're going to get the show all products, show single product, and delete single product. We'll get those to work easily. Then I'm going to show you some of the problems that I've had with the updates and with the post. All right, and we'll just take it from there when we get to that point. All right, so with all that said, I'm going to do a file save. I am going to come down here into my terminal, and I'm going to do my npm run dev start. Should come up with no problems. It is. All right, now I'm going to bring up Postman. And with Postman up and running here, or up and running quickly or soon, all right, I'm going to change my share so you can see what the heck I'm doing. All right, so I'm in Postman. All right, and I'm going to start up a brand new thing here, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a get. It is going to be localhost :5678, just like that with a get. There shouldn't be anything else I need in there that I know of. I'm going to click send, and I see please use API products. That's good. So when I go to the home route, that's working. It's telling me in here, okay, where I should be going. And also, I believe, I didn't even check this, but I believe if I go back into my terminal on the actual running program right now, under Visual Studio Code, no, it's not showing it there. I thought it would, but it's not. Okay. All right. So there's the first one. So I want to do another get, but I now want to go to /API/products. All right. So now I'm at localhost :5678/API/products. It's a get. I'm clicking send, and I get the message listing of all products. Literally, we'll have this out there in just a few minutes. All right. Now, I want to check if I have a single product in there. So I'm going to go to the end up here of my get, and I'm just going to put in here a slash, and I'm going to just type in 123. You could put in anything. And it says list single product. So that's working. So as of right now, simplistically, I've tested my first two routes and they're working. Next, I'm going to have to go in and I want to check the post. So I'm going to do an app post here. Now, normally, remember when I do a post, first of all, I want to make sure it only says localhost :5678/API/products. And for right now, I don't need anything in here, but we will add stuff shortly. And if I click send again, I get add a new product. So that route's working. All right. Then I'm going to go back over to here and I'm going to go to my put. All right. And all I need to do is put an ID in here. So again, you can put anything. And I'm at localhost :5678/API/product/123. And it says updated single product. I'm also going to try it the same exact way, but instead of putting in patch, clicking send, and again, I get updated single product. And then finally, I'm going to get rid of the /123 on the end, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to choose delete. Click send again, and I get cannot delete products. Oh, it needs, I'm sorry, it does need an ID. So I'll put 123 in there, try to delete again, and it says deleted single product. Now I did that quickly, but you should have all had time to pretty much follow along with me. All right. Anybody have any problems or any questions on anything we've done? It's been a lot of review. Anybody? All right. So then next, what I'd like you to do is to go in, if you don't have it running already, all right, I'd like you to go in, let me do it and show you, okay? So I'd like you, oh, that's what we're gonna do in a minute, so hold on. That's the other one. All right. So I'd like you to start by bringing up, again, on your desktop, just do a git bash here and do your MongoD or MonGod, whatever you want to call it, and that'll bring this up. All right. After you've done that, and again, evidently for you, John, and for you, Clayton, you'll have to put that minus whatever it was, NORC or whatever the heck it was that we did yesterday. All right. So I want you to bring up yet another. I want you to bring up the Mongo shell. How's that? All right. Don't worry about this stuff. That's what you're going to have in just a moment, but don't worry about it at all. All right. Now, today I emailed you. Today I emailed you a copy of the products file. So again, I went into that products file that we had from our days in MySQL, and I recreated it as a MongoDB file. All right. So what I'd like you to do then is to find that file and open it up. What do I mean? Well, if I go back, there we go. Okay, hold on a sec. There we are. All right. So I've got it open inside of Notepad++. This is the file I created for you. There are 40 projects in here. We don't need this use Acme. All right. But what I want you to do is, starting with this db.products, don't paste it in yet, but I'd like you to take and grab this entire file. Again, if you've got use Acme at the top, you technically can leave it in. It's not going to hurt anything if you want to. We can put it, I guess we might as well. We can put it in Acme. That's fine. So use Acme, and we're going to go and insert each one of these. All right. Now, just so you know, all right. Oh, probably 3 years ago, all right, when we were teaching the AWD1112 class, which is the class that for the last few years we've been teaching Android in. But for a year, for a semester, all right, we were kind of advised that we should be teaching writing and running C# web applications. So we did. The reason I'm telling you that is I went out and made this product that had things from a bicycle shop. So I literally have these images. You don't. We don't need them for what we're doing. But the reason I'm telling you that is, again, hopefully this won't dismay or dishearten or whatever people, but next semester we have gotten advice from our advisory committee, and they have said we're not hiring anybody as basically Android developers. So we're going to not teach Android next semester in the AWD1112 class. We are again going to go back to C#, and we're going to be teaching web applications with C#. So you're going to learn how to use ASP.NET, ASP meaning active server pages. All right. And again, this is the project that I had people use when we did it a couple years ago. I'm going to see if I can find the project, resurrect it, update it, upgrade it. It may be the one we use then. I don't know. But with all that said, grab everything that's in here, do a Control A, whatever you want to do. Do an edit, select all, but copy it to the clipboard. All right. Then I just want to see what's in my Acme. So I did a use Acme, and I've got to change my share. All right. So I've done a use Acme, and I want to show my collections because I was goofing around with this stuff before. I don't think I put products in there. I don't. I do. All right. So let's see. DB dot. I don't know if there's a drop collection. I don't remember. No. So there is no drop collection. Okay. Well, I've already got it. So what you can do is do your use Acme and then just copy everything in. And what you should get then are these 40 records. They're going to look all over the place because I used some tabbing in here where I probably shouldn't have, but it made it easier for me to see. So when you get done putting that in, it should show you these 40 different IDs that got created. And then when you get done, you should be able to do a db.products.find.pretty. All right. And it should show you all of your different things that you just put in there. All right. Again, this is all made up stuff, but I'd like you to do that. And please let me know. I'll give you a couple minutes, but please let me know if you have any problems with that whatsoever. We're going to go till 1:30, regardless of where I am. We're going to take a 10-minute break at 1:30, and we're probably going to be done no later than 2:15 today. All right. And the other thing I'll say, this is not for the benefit of you three, but yesterday, Mr. Wharton sent me an email saying he followed all the steps. He was able to get in, and he's working fine with MongoD and MongoSH. For the other two of you in here, that being Nicholas and Mason, if and when you watch this video, and after you do the installation, please email me and let me know that either A, it works and you're cool, or B, you're having a problem so I can work with you. All right. Okay. So I'm asking you, yes.
Would you type in your Acme? It's the db.products.find.
Yes,
And
it's
what's the rest of it?
db.products.find and paren, and I did a .pretty on the end, paren. So let's see if it'll, I think I can even go up there and show, there it is. So I did a db.products.find, .pretty, All right. And what you'll notice typically is if I do this again, and I just type in db.products.find like that and hit enter. Okay, well, try it again, db.products.find. All right. Right there, at least, it looks like it was formatted. Sometimes it gets formatted, sometimes it's not. So I usually put the .pretty on there. All right. Okay. So what have we done so far? We have gone in and we have brought in our MongoDB collection that we're going to use. All right. So we brought that in. Good. That's first thing. Okay. Second thing, we went out and we've been creating our app.js, which I'm going to change back to right now. So let me change my share so we can actually start writing our routes. All right, so I'm going to go back to Visual Studio Code as soon as I can find it in my mess. There it is. All right, I'm going to move this down and we're going to actually replace this with the routes that we want to have. All right, so before we do that, one of the things we need to do at the top of our program, so you can do this right underneath where you've got const app equals express. We've got to go in and we have to let the system know that we're using MongoJS. So in other words, we're going to say here const DB, what you call that is up to you, but DB for database is a commonly used name. All right, so we're going to say equals MongoJS, and then what you have to put in here is the name of the database, which is Acme, and then even if there's just one, you need to put in an array. We're going to actually include both products and customers. All right, so we're going to have both of them in there. All right, so that is the line of code that you will need. So right now, anytime our database, what we're saying is in here, our database, when we refer to DB something, it's the Acme database, and it's going to be one of these two collections, either the products collection or the customers. The order in which you put those collections, of course, does not matter. All right. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go down. This get route for our homepage is just fine, but we're going to rewrite this one. All right. So I'm just going to comment this line out. You can get rid of it if you want. You can comment it out. Not to be funny. You can do whatever the heck you want to do with it. Okay. But I'd like you to put in this. We're going to say db.products.find. And when you call this, you're going to get back one of two things. You're either going to get back an error or you're going to get back the documents, which typically is just referred to as docs. So you're going to get one of those or the other back. All right. So what do we want to do with that? Okay. And in fact, what we're going to say in here is this. Okay. When we do this, all right, when we do this, I think I might have an error in my code, and I believe we're going to need a parenthesis here. All right. I think there might be an error in my code. Even though it runs, I think there might be an error in it. So what do we want to do when we find it? If there is an error, we're just going to return it back to the user. So I'm going to do a res.send of the error, because you're pretty much dead in the water at that point anyway. All right. Now we don't need an else on here, because if we get down to here, there was no error, because if there was an error, we're doing this. There was an error. So if we get down to here, we could put it in as an else, but that's kind of some superfluous code. In other words, it's not necessary. All right. So I'm going to put in here console.log, even though we don't need this, but I'll say product listing found. You can put anything you want in there. It really doesn't matter. And then I'm going to say res.json, and I'm going to put in here docs. All right. That is our new fetch all products route right there. So again, we are saying that when we go in either into Postman, or we can test this right from the command line, but when we go into localhost 5678/API/products, and we've got get as the one that we've chosen, it should, unless there's a problem, it should give us back all that stuff that we just put in there. All right. If that does not make sense, it is your responsibility to ask me. All right. So I'm going to check this twice. I'm going to save this. And first, I want to check. And I'm going to go back and look. You're not going to see this. Oh yeah, you will. In my terminal, okay, it says that it crashed. So it says it was missing a parenthesis after the argument list. Maybe I didn't need that paren, and it says it's on line 25. All right, so it's telling me that it's having a problem right there. There it is. I don't have a parenthesis right there. You see that? So let me go back and show you everything, because I don't ever want to give you code that's screwed up, not on purpose. So it's API.get with this, db.products.find, error or docs, fat arrow function. If it's an error, we're going to do a res.send on the error. Otherwise, we're going to log that the product listing was found, and we'll do a res.json to show it to us. Hopefully everybody got a chance to put all that in, and I can bring it up again later if for whatever reason you need me to. But what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to check my terminal and see if it's restarted the server. And it did. So I have no errors in there. All right. Then the next thing I'm going to do, and you don't have to do this, but I just like to do it, is I'm going to change my share and I'm going to go back in and on the internet. All right. And I'm going to come out here and I'm going to do a localhost :5678/API/products and hit enter. There's our 40 products. If yours came out and it looks like this, it's totally fine. All right. I had mentioned that there was a JSON Beautify tool. I don't remember the name of it, but if you need it, email me and I'll let you know what it is. And if I want it parsed, it looks a lot nicer. So these are the 40 different products that we just brought in. All right. Now, you'll notice when you look at them and your IDs will be different than mine. But I'm grabbing this one, it's just from randomly. I'm grabbing this one that says Shineman 105 SC brakes. And what I'm grabbing from it is just the ID. Just the ID. That's it. All right. And when I go and write my next one, I only want it to show that one record. All right. So we're going to write that route right now. Okay. So we've written our first one, but now we want to go in and check, well, what if we've got an existing ID in here? And the good news is it's almost exactly like what we just did. So let me again change my share. All right. I'm going to go back into Visual Studio Code. I'm going to make this smaller. All right. I'm going to grab my fetch all products that I have right here. This thing. I'm going to grab this whole thing except for the comment right there. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard and I'm going to put it down here. In other words, I'm going to replace what was in here with that. Now I'll have to make a couple changes, but it's fine. All right. What changes? Well, remember, this is going to be my fetch single product. So I'll need in here /:ID. Doggone it. Boy, my touchscreen is just really sensitive. So /:ID. There we go. So we've got that. Now, when we do this, we don't want to find, we want a find one. But when we put this find one in here, there's more stuff that we've got to do. All right. And if you say, I don't know what you mean, what I'm going to do is before my second paren that's got the error and the docs on it, I'm going to hit enter. So I can type as much onto this line so you can see what it is. What we have to do is we have to provide here, we have to provide the ID. But you can't just do something like this. You can't just say, okay, it's called _ID. So this is wrong. :req.params.id. That's the way we used to do things. That way would work if we were using a relational database management system such as MySQL. We're not, so we can't. What we have to do in here is we have to, for lack of better words, we have to cast the ID. What do I mean? We have to put in here MongoJS.object ID and watch it because it is case sensitive. Oh, it is case sensitive. So it's a big I, a big O, and a little D here after the ID. All right, now we can say req.params.id, and we have to end our curly brace. All right, then a comma. Now on the next line, we can do our error and our docs. Okay, but since we're only going to be returning one document, we could leave it docs, but I just made mine doc. And Okay, product listing found, that should be fine. And here, doc as well. All right. Now, it's looking like when I'm doing this, I'm missing something. So probably I was missing this. Well, it doesn't like something. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it right now. All right. So this is the route. So I'm just trying to see what I'm missing here. All right. We need that beginning curly there. All right. And the curly begins there. That is all correct. So let's see. Underscore ID, MongoJS.object ID, request.params.id. It's telling me here that the comma is expected. Don't know if I need it. I don't need another paren here. Yeah, that did not fix it. So I'm trying to figure out what my error is here. So let's see. Underscore ID, that is correct. JS.object ID, request.params.id, ding ding. That is all correct. Doesn't like something that's in here. Well, I wrote it this morning and it worked just fine. So let's see if I figure out what the problem is. App.get API products ID request response fat arrow curly eb.products find one e request.params.id. Wondering if these are transposed and it should be like that. I guess that was what it was. Okay, so it looks now, and when I copied it over, I must have copied it over backwards. All right, and let's talk for just a second, because there's a lot of different stuff going on here. So let's go over this and then we'll take a break. All right, so we're telling it that we want to search for an individual ID. All right, and we want to do a find one. There's different ways, just so you know. There are different ways when you go through these different types of CRUD operations, there's different ways of doing the same operation. In other words, there's an update one, there's an update and modify, there's a few different ones for most of these. And what we need here for the find one is we need the ID. So we're telling it that we want it to grab from our request, which is what we're going to be putting in on the address line. That's what that is. But it is in an incompatible format because this basically is saved in one way as an ID, and this is saved in another way. So again, we are casting it. We are saying to take what is in that request.params.id and, for lack of better words, cast it as type MongoJS.object.id. Then, just like we did earlier, if there is an error, all right, if there is an error, we want to send it back. Otherwise, we want to log that. So I'm going to do a file save. I am going to quickly check down here to make sure I didn't break anything. And I did, but you'll notice it's back up. It should be back up and running. When we get down to the bottom here, boy, that's a lot. And it's running, so you can see that. So again, let me change my share for just a moment. And I'm first going to, for just a second, I'm going to jump back into Postman. You don't have to do this, but I want to jump back in there and I want to be able to grab an ID. In fact, I don't even think I have to do that. I think I've got it on my screen still. So let me do that again. All right. So I'll just grab this one right here that I highlighted before. I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. So that's 633 FDDF, etc. So I now have an ID. When you copy it, don't use the double quotes. All right. So I've got that. I should now be able to double test this. And what I mean is I should first be able to go back to the internet. All right. And come in here like I did before, localhost : 5678/API/products. Now put in a slash and paste in that ID right here. And ideally, when I hit enter, I'm only going to see this. All right, we'll see if it works or doesn't work. Whoops, on it in just a second. All right, so I hit enter, and there's my one record, Shineman 105 SC brakes. Since it works there, but it's always best to double check it, I'm going to go back out into Postman. All right, and in Postman, I've already got everything out here, but I want to change it back because I want this to be a get. All right, and for the ID in here, I want it to be copy that thing back in there, that 633DF, etc. So with all of that in there, when I click send, now I only get my record right down here, down on the bottom, Shineman 105 SC brakes. So far, we have completed 2/5, all right, or 3/6 if you want to look at that home route that doesn't do anything. So it is 128. Let's take 12 minutes, come back at 140, and we're going to pick it up then with the delete route. All right. So we'll pick it up, like I said, in about 12 minutes. All right, it is 1:40. What I'm going to do next, I'm back in Visual Studio Code. I'm going to grab this fetch single product, the one we just did. I'm going to grab all of that code, every bit of it. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. And I'm going to go down to my delete, which is down on the bottom. And I'm going to replace what's in there with that. Now we have to make a few changes, of course, but the main change that we have to make in here is we've got to change this app.get to an app.delete. That's the first thing. We're not done yet, but we're almost done, believe it or not. Let me turn on word wrap here. So here we go. All right. So I went down to the delete one, and I've now got app.delete, everything we had in here before, but we don't want to do a db.products.find one. No, we want to do a db.products.remove. And again, there are several different things that you can do when you're doing this. It's not, there's a remove, and there are other commands that you can use as well. All right, change this from product listing found to product listing deleted. All right, but pretty much I think I'll have to quick check, but I believe it. We're almost done with this one now. All right. So again, deleting a single product, we have to make sure we provided an ID. Just like before, we have to take that ID and do the equivalent of casting it to being of type MongoJS.objectID, and that's the request.params.id. So that'll be the one that we put in at the command line. All right. If there's an error, we're going to send it. If we get down to line 61, then at least supposedly everything worked. All right. So I'm going to save that. And if you have, I'll give you just a second in case any of you are still typing or getting it, all up to speed, etc. All right. And as always, again, if you have questions, please stop and ask me. All right. So first thing I want to do is I want to check and make sure I haven't broken anything. In other words, is this thing still up and running? And it says that it is. That's always a good start. All right. Okay. So then the next thing that I'm going to do, remember this, when I do anything but a get. So when I do a put, when I do a patch, when I do a delete, any of those three operations, I cannot do them by going out to the command line and doing my local host, etc. I've got to use a product like Postman in order to be able to do those. So I am going to switch over to Postman, which will necessitate me changing my share yet again here. Right. And now I've got this. You already saw in here, hopefully, that let me move this up. All right. This right here, when we did the get, this is the one. This is a particular record, and I have nothing about this record one way or the other. It's just is the one I chose. Again, this is that Shinemon 105 SC brakes, it looks like. All right. And what I want to do now is I want to delete that. So what do I have to do here? Well, basically I have to come in here and I have to change that get to a delete. Well, what else do I have to do? Technically, I think nothing. Why? Because we've got our localhost :5678 /API /products / and we have a valid URL in there. All right. Now, will this work? I guess we'll all know in just a second. All right. But it came back. When you get this kind of thing here, this is the actual stuff that it returns. It said the number, there was 1, and it's okay, and the deleted count was 1. So how do I know whether or not it worked? Well, it should be very easy for you to figure out that if I come in here and I go back into get, and I try doing a get on this one that I just removed, this 633DF, etc., all that stuff, and I click send, it should come back with either the word null or an empty array. And that just means it's not there anymore. So we have removed it. All right. Now I could go back and again, do a get on all products. All right. As we had here, and do my get and run it. But then I have to go in and search for it, etc. But it should be gone. So I now should be down from 40 products to 39 products. All right. So again, out of the 6 things that we want to do, the simple thing with our homepage, we've got that done. We've got to get all, we've got to get one, and now we've got to delete one. All right. Here's where I started to run into some of my problems. I'm going to give you all of my code. All right. And it doesn't work very well, but we're going to try it anyway. Okay. Which means I'm going to jump back into my app.js file right now. So I want to get back into Visual Studio Code. I'm going to shorten this. All right. And now I'm going to find my post route. All right. You all know what's supposed to happen when you do a post. It's supposed to allow us to add the equivalent of a new record, or in our case, a new document into our collection. All right. So we don't need this res.send anymore. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that. We also do not put in an ID. One should be provided for us. All right. So we want to do an app.post /API /products request response. This should be fairly simplistic, but I couldn't get mine to work. All right. So we're going to put it in and we're going to see what happens when we try this. So I did a db.products.insert1. And what we have to do is we have to pass in everything. In other words, we're creating a brand new product. So everything that we're about to put into Postman, we want to pass it. What the heck does that mean? That means we want to pass the whole request.body object. Whoops. I don't know why this is going so goofy. So we want to pass the entire request.body object right here. When we do this and we attempt to do an insert, just like before, we can either get an error or we can get the document that has been inserted. All right. So we've got all that. And we need to put in our fat arrow here. All right. Hit enter. Let's move this so these two are together. There we go. All right. So again, like we did before, if there's an error, we'll just do a res.send on that error. Don't know what happened there, but something did. All right. Again, there's no else on here. So we should just be able to say, do a console.log and say something like, added a new product or whatever you want to say. It doesn't really matter. And we want to do a res.json. All right. of that. All right, I had problems with this. We're going to see right now if it'll work. I already see, I've made the change already, but I see when I wrote this an error I had in my code, which I have now fixed. I don't know if this is going to work or not. All right, so first thing to always do is to come up here, if you're running like I am here, and see if I broke anything. It says that it's still running. That's always a good start. All right, so I'm going to do a file save all. It's been a while, or a save since I've saved. All right, I'm going to change my share. I am going to go into Postman. All right, I am going to go into Postman. All right, and just so you know, when I come in here and I do a post, well, a couple things. First of all, I don't want all this stuff showing here. All right, it's kind of hard for me to look at and when I'm with what I'm about to do. So I'm going to close this one that I've got open right now, and I don't need to save it. And I'm just going to open a new one by clicking the plus sign, and that clears everything out. There's a clear option here too. All right, but I want to do that. So what do I want to do? Well, first thing I want to do is I want to choose post. All right. Second thing is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do my localhost /5678/API/products. I'm sorry. All right. That's the first thing, but I'm certainly not done yet. The next thing I want to do is I want to come over here and click on the thing here that says body. Next, I want to choose raw, and I want to choose, instead of text, I want this to be JSON. All right. Then in here, I've got to put in my new object that I want to post. So inside of curly braces here, all right, what do we have? Well, we've got 4 fields, so I'm going to put each one of them in. Now here, they do have to be in double quotes. So for product name, all right, and I realize it's kind of hard for you to see. I don't know if there's a way to make this text bigger or not. I mean, I'm trying the flywheel thing here and it's not working. I'll try to remember to look that up. All right. So for the product name, you can make up anything you want. I just made up a new product that I called bike cover. Okay, no special meaning there. Next, I had a product description. And I just said coming soon. You may or may not have noticed, but none of these have descriptions in them. Then I had a product price. And again, I'm making all this up. So I said $25. Then I had a product image. Well, this is something brand new. So I actually don't have a product image. So for product image, I just put in here none. And finally, I guess there's 5 fields, not 4. There's a product quantity. All right. And that, again, I just made it up. I said 10. All right. Now you don't have to put the same things in. It really doesn't matter what you put in here. All right. But I wanted to create a complete document here because when I work later on my put and my patch, I want to be able to use this one. All right. So post localhost /5678/API/products, and I've got my fields in here. My product name, my product description, my product price, my product image, and my product quantity, or QTY. Then I press send. All right. And it does look like it came in here. See that? It looks like it came in. How do I tell? Well, I want to come back in here and I'm going to change over to a get, and I'm going to do a get on everything. When I do this, make sure you press the none button here. We don't want anything in there. All right. So I went back to get localhost /API/products, nothing in here, and I'm going to click send. Then I'm going to work my way down in here to the very bottom. And if I look on the bottom, there it is. You'll notice if you look here, it's the last 5 or 6 numbers are 232 D4C. So it's not the next one after this. All right. But I've now got byte cover coming soon, etc. So in other words, I have gotten in here, we have now gotten our, for CRUD, we have done the C, create, which is what we just did here. We did the R, which is read. We did it both all records and a single record. And we did the D for delete. All right. So again, we've got all of that stuff done. So what's left? You already know this. It's put and it's patch. So we're going to see if we can come in there and try to put in put and patch and get them to work. All right. So let's start by seeing if we can do a patch. Remember, a patch is a partial update. Now, this isn't bad. We've got, we cannot update the ID. So we've only got 5 fields to update. It isn't bad. That's another reason why typically, you want to have few fields in each table. All right. But imagine instead of 5, we had 20 or 30. The reason I'm telling you that is if we use a put right now, we've got only 5 fields that we've got to replace. But if we had 20 or 25 fields in there, we did a put, we'd have to replace 20 or 25, which is kind of ridiculous. All right. So what we want to do is we want to come in next and we want to come in and do a patch. I'm going to show you what I did, and I had problems with this. We'll see when we get done whether or not we can get it to work. All right. Okay. So I'm going to change my share. And actually, before we go back into app.js, which we're going to do in just a moment, all right, I'm going to go out to the internet. And the reason for that, I don't know if I still have that up or not, probably not in my mess here. All right, but I'm going to go out to, let's see, patch method to MongoDB, hit enter. All right, so let's see if I can find it from here. This is where I found this. Okay, I went out to Stack Overflow because I tried doing this a bunch of different ways myself and nothing worked. I'm not going to lie to you, nothing worked. So it says I want to create a patch for my API, but there's something I don't understand. Imagine I have a document with the following. Okay, so what they have in here is a document with an ID. So this particular document has 3 fields. The ID, which has been basically pre-made, a name, Bob, and an age, 30. So what the person here is saying is they want to be able to come in and they want to be able to do a patch, the equivalent of a patch. In other words, they want to be able to come in and maybe all they want to change is the first name. Instead of Bob, they want Robert, but they don't want to change the age. So it says, I want to be able to update this document, but I don't know what keys. Again, remember, name is the key, Bob is the value. Age is the key, 30 is the value, underscore ID is the key, object ID, whatever, is the value. So it says, I would like to update this document, but I don't know what keys my API will receive. So I imagine I make a request in order to change the age. All right, it says, but also the last name. Well, it says it would be something like this. Now, you might say, well, what do you mean last name? Well, they want to be able to add a last name. All right. So not only change the age from 30 to 44 in this case, but they also want to be able to add a new field, in this case, last name. And it conceivably, they could also want to change this or not want to change that. All right. So what he says here is the main problem is it says, I don't know what arguments I will receive. And getting back to what we're doing, remember, we have six fields if you include, so six fields if you do include the ID, which again, we're not going to change, but we can change the product name and or the product description and or the product price and or the product image and or the product quantity, and maybe even we want to add something new. All right. So it says my goal is to update the values of the existing keys and add the keys that are not into the document. Any ideas? So I went and looked, and you probably already know this, but typically when you run through this and you go through Stack Overflow, the answer that is checked is usually the one that's the most accepted. Now, a couple things. It says, I'm assuming a couple things here. You are using Express. We are. 2, you are using either the MongoDB driver or the MongoJS NPM module. Well, we're using MongoJS, so we should be able to do this. So let's take a look at what's in here. First of all, we should be able to go in, and I did this, we should be able to go in and replace every instance in there of var, all right, with const. All right. So what we're saying there is that the first line says app.patch. We're going to change ours. So then instead of user ID, of course, ours will be /API/products ID. Okay. So that's the first thing. That's not a big change. All right. It's probably what you think we'd have to do anyway. All right. And then remember, this is like the old-fashioned way of doing it, to say function. We instead don't use the word function. We instead put in rec and res like this, and then put in the fat arrow. You can do it this way as well. All right. But so what's next? All right. I tried this with both a let and with a const, and I couldn't get either one of them to work. But it's got here var update object. I made mine a let. All right, equals request.body. So again, that should give you everything that we've added in there. Everything we'll try to add in there. Then again, const ID equals req.params.id. All right, now, one thing I just thought of right now, and I didn't try to do before, is maybe we have to go and cast that. All right, we might have to go and cast that like we've had to cast that other stuff. So I'll try that in just a moment. Then notice what they're using. Again, I've already said this to you. They're doing a db.users.update where I tried to do it with an update and an update 1, both of them. And it's telling you to go and grab the ID, all right, from right there. Okay. And it's saying then that we should use the set operator. What that means is anything that's added inside of the set operator is what we want to update, and anything not added, we want to leave it alone. Now, I'm hoping what I just said made sense to you. And if it doesn't, I'm going to walk you through it right now. All right. If for some reason we can get this to work, okay, then the only thing that's left is the put. But again, I had problems with this. I can already think of 2 things I might want to change to see if I can do something to make this work. So we will try one or both of them. So I just copied this in, all right, and then started making some changes to it. So I'm just going to grab that, copy it to the clipboard. I'm going to change my share, and I'm going to go back in again to Visual Studio Code. All right. And now we've got our put here and we've got our patch here. All right. I'm just going to remove everything that's in my patch right there, everything that's currently in there, and I'm going to paste this in. Now, of course, I have to make changes. I don't need this comment here to start with. I don't need this. All right. And I don't want this. I instead want to replace that with a fat arrow because that's considered the quote better way, unquote, of doing that today. Now I am going to say let update object equal request.body. All right. var ID equals request.params.id. All right. I'm going to make that a const. All right. But then what I'm going to do is instead of doing it like this, it's got object ID. We are trying to cast it actually. See that? We're trying to cast it right there. All right. And then we just tell it to do a set where we're telling it again, everything that we put in there, everything that we put, and we're going to do this in a second. You want to update everything we don't put in there. Don't update. All right. So I'll give you a second in case you need it to key all that stuff in. I'll give you 2 or 3 minutes here. What we eventually want to do when we get into where we're working on full-fledged projects is kind of what we just did with my MySQL and what I'm having you do with that movies database. All right. We want to be able to do things with a GUI on it. We are not using anything GUI right now. All right. So again, when I tried doing this before, it didn't work, but I'm going to try it again anyway. So I did a file save. I will check. I believe this is still working. Okay. So app is still running. So I'm going to go into, I'm going to go into Postman. So that'll necessitate again, me changing my share. All right, so I'm into Postman. Again, I want this to all clear out. So I'm going to make that, again, I'm just going to close this one, not save, and start a new one here. All right. Well, the first thing is this is going to be a patch. All right, so that's first thing. Okay. Next thing is, and I wish I'd have saved it, but I need an ID. All right, so let me go back and do a get on here again, just so I can grab an ID. All right. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do my localhost :5678/API/products. All right, and I'm going to do my send. That gives me all my data again. I'm going to go way down to the bottom because I got my junk record that I just put in there. You can grab any one of these you want. You can always recreate the database if you want to or need to do so. But I'm going down to the bottom and I'm grabbing the ID. I'm grabbing the ID for that bike cover that I just put in. All right, so that's the first thing I'm doing here. Next, I'm going to go up here and I want to change this. All right, I don't want this to be a get. I want it to be a patch. When I do a patch, since I'm just patching a single record, I do a slash here and I put this back in. All right. Now, since I'm going to be providing information here, I'm going to click on body and I'm going to choose raw and I'm going to choose JSON. Then in here, inside of curly braces, I have to put in what I want to change. So remember that when we do this, we've got up to 5 fields. All right, I'm going to just grab a couple of them. I'm doing this randomly. So I'm going to first come in and I'm going to say product name. Whoops, it has to be in double quotes. This is JSON we're using in here, so that's why. All right, so product name. And then a colon. And I want to change the product name. So it was called, previously it was called bike cover. I'm going to just change it to bike dust cover. Again, I don't know if this is going to work or not. It didn't when I tried it before, but I've already made a couple changes to it. Second, I'm going to change the quantity, which is currently at 10. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say product QTY for product quantity, and I'm going to make it 50. So I have come in, all right, I am attempting to change this particular record. I'm attempting to do a partial update. So since I'm attempting to do a partial update, I'm using patch. All right. In my address bar, I have localhost : 5678/API/products/ and that the ID that I just went out and grabbed from my new record. Then inside of here in curly braces, I've got the two fields that I've decided I'm going to try to update. The first is product name, which must be in double quotes, followed by a colon, and then I've got bite dust cover, also in double quotes. After that, I've got product QTY in double quotes, followed by a colon, and then a new number, and I just arbitrarily picked 50. All right. Well, now I'm going to click send, and I would always get a message in here that it didn't work. All right. Now it just says error. It says cannot patch right there. Okay. So it is giving me an error, which, doesn't show me very much. That's the error that basically I told it to print if there was an error. So it says cannot patch. What does that mean? That means that it's time to go in here and switch back to my code. Put on my developer hat and start thinking, what could be wrong here? All right. And I'm not adding any new fields. Just so you know, when you do an update like this, I can do an update. I could try an update 1 here. I don't know if that would matter, but there are flags that you can put in on the end of this. I'm keeping them off because I'm trying not to increase the complexity here. All right. But if you remember yesterday, we talked a little bit and we saw that when you were doing this, there was something called an upsert. All right. And what an upsert meant was if you try to put in something that wasn't there previously, okay, do you want to allow that? And there's a true flag that you can put on there for upsert. So there's a few things in here we could try, but I don't think they have anything to do with this error. All right. The good news is, or the bad news, depending on your point of view, is it's not anything syntactical. All right. So the let update object equal request.body, all right, to let that, I think what I'm going to try to do first of all, and it's going to break, that's okay, but I'm going to come in here and rather than trying to do the update like this, I'm going to comment this line out. All right. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do a console.log, and I want to do a console.log of update object. And I want to see if indeed, I could do it on request.body too, but I've already passed it into update object. So I'm going to do this, all right, and I'm going to send it along. It's not going to work, but I want to see if it does print anything here in my console. All right, why? Because I'm trying to debug this thing and I'm trying to figure out what could be wrong with it. So file save. Put that down. I'm going to change my share and go back into Postman. And just like we just did with this stuff right here, I've got everything in there. All right, I've got all the stuff in there. Okay, and it's the same as it was before. And I'm going to click send. All right, it came up with the same message here, but I do want to see if once I go back into Visual Studio Code, if there is anything, all right, if there's been anything, no, it put nothing in there. All right, so I don't know if that means it's not getting to that point. I don't know what the problem is right there. All right. So let me switch back. Right. So there's something wrong here. All right. I mean, that hopefully at least is obvious. All right. Now, so what can I try to do? I mean, what can I try to do to actually see what's going on here? Well, I guess I could try to just console.log request.body and see if for some reason maybe it's not getting copied over. So I could take this and I could put it in here. I don't think it's going to make any difference. All right. This right here, the request.params ID and the ID, I'm just creating a brand new variable here. So regardless of how this is formatted right here, there should be no problem with me copying that into here. There shouldn't be any problem with that. All right. And on the update, again, I'm saying updated by ID. What ID? I'm telling it in here. And now that I think about it, all right, we didn't put in here like we did with the other ones. If you remember, when we did the other ones, we said MongoJS.object ID. I'll try that. I mean, I'm to the point where I'm willing to try anything here. So let's change this to MongoJS.object ID. And I'm going to put this set on its own line. You don't have to do that. All right. What I'm concerned with in here, of course, I'm concerned with this working, of course, but I want you to be able to understand what we're doing. All right. Especially those of you who might be watching this on tape. All right. Because I mean, if you fall behind, next week, we're going to talk about another way of doing this using Mongoose. The reason I'm having you do it like this is if you get a job working for a company and you're doing full stack development, there's probably a very good chance or probably a better chance that you're going to use Mongoose, which is easier to use than this. But there's also a chance that you're not using Mongoose and something was written like this. So you've got to be able to get it to work. So again, I'm going to do a file save. All right, I am going to check and make sure, and it says my app is running. My guess is I'm going to get the same message I got before, but I don't know. So file save. I am going to change my share and go back into Postman. Just so I'm sure everything is clean, I'm going to start a new one of these. So I'm going to get rid of this one I have. I'm not going to save it, and I'm going to just start a new one. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose patch. And in here, I'm going to put in my local host :5678 slash. No, I wish I wouldn't have. Well, that's fine. Slash. Well, let's just do this. I want to grab it again. And of course, I don't remember what that goofy ID was. So let me just come in here and do a get localhost :5678 slash API slash products. All right, run this. There's all my products. I'm going to jump down to the bottom here. And this time I'm going to be a little smarter than I was. And that is I'm going to grab this and I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. And I'm going to throw it someplace where I can go grab it again. So do that. Just throw it in here for now. Whoops, in here. There we go. All right, so now I've got a copy of that at least. Okay, so again, I've now got that. So again, I'm going to start this all over again. Copy that. I'm closing this. I'm just trying to get this as clean as I possibly can. So I'm going to come in here, do my local host, :5678 slash API slash products. Boy, I don't know what I did there, but like I said, my touchpad is just unbelievably sensitive. So let me try it again. Localhost. There we go. Localhost 5678 API products / and there's that. So we've got that to start with. All right. Next, we want to change this to a patch. And then we want to come in here and click on body and raw and text and JSON. Come in here and put in what we want. So again, I will put in, like I did before, I will just put in the same two things that I put in before. So in curly braces, product name, and I'm just going to make some garbagey up here. So I'm just going to say new product name. All right, comma, and let's change the price. So product price. And oh my gosh, come on. Like I said, this is all this touch screen. I don't know what the heck is going on with this thing. All right, so I got to redo this. Sorry. Body, there it is. Okay, and I will make this $100. All right, I don't know what it was before. I don't really care, but I'm going to click send, and I get my same message, cannot patch. All right, so I've tried a couple different things here. All right, I've tried a couple different things to try to get this to work, and none of them have worked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop right here, okay? And I'm going to show you what I'd like you to do, okay? Now, just so you know, I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to keep working on the patch, and I've got a different error with the put. I'm going to keep working on both of them, all right? If I get them both to work, whatever I get done by the end of the period today, all right, I will send you an email on it, and I will put it out there. I will put it out there as a GitHub repo. All right, let me change my share here because I want to show you something. What I want you to do, and I'll send this to you in a bit, is the following. It says this will be your first MongoDB assignment. Your job is to take everything that did not work for us today and make it work. That will probably be the post. Well, we got the post to work, so I can get rid of that. So that will probably be the put route and the patch route. Okay, so I'd like you to work on those and try to get them to work. What do you do? Well, I'd start with going to the MongoDB.com documentation because that's right where I'm headed as soon as we're done here today. All right, then I want you to go back into your app.js and I want you to create similar routes. All right, so you will create 5 similar routes, but you're gonna have to make some kind of change. All right, and what I mean is rather than saying /API/products, you're going to make a /API/customers. Because what I want you to do is to implement the same functionality that we've been working with today in your Acme database, but on the customers collection. So you should be able to do that and at least get the get all, the get one, the delete, and the post to work. You should be able to do that. I am right now going to keep working on the put and the patch. If I get them to work, I'll send those to you. All right. But what I'm saying is, again, I want you to create similar routes. We're throwing everything into app.js, and then on Monday, we're going to break it up. All right. So I am purposely giving you very little turnaround time to do this. I actually want to see what you get done by the start of class on Monday. So you will have an hour and a half today and tomorrow. You say, well, I'm still working on that movies database. well, then apportion your time accordingly. Even if you don't get all of it finished or working, as it says, I want you to turn in what you have by that time. So I want you to turn something in, whether you are watching this live or on tape. I want to have something from you by 12:05 p.m. Monday, 10/10. As it says, use the documentation at MongoDB to at least get you started. Yep, Google is your friend. This is going to be worth 50 points, half of what a test is worth. I'm going to be grading it on, did you at least make an effort? Even if we don't right now get the patch and the put to work, all right, did you get the other ones to work? The get all, the post, and the delete. Did you get those to work for customers? All right, so on Monday, as it says, we'll finish this up. We'll make the routes work. And the key thing here is, as it says, we will start segregating out our routes from the app.js file. All right. If we get all that done, and my hope is we can, and it actually won't take that long, then we're going to jump right into Mongoose. When we jump into Mongoose, I don't know if it'll be Tuesday or if it'll be later, we're going to look at another part of MongoDB, and that is using MongoDB Atlas. MongoDB Atlas is the cloud-based service that Mongo provides. All right, and you can basically set it all up for free. All right, we're going to work on that either starting on Monday or starting on Tuesday. All right. Is there anybody watching this live here that does not understand what I just went over with you? All right, and again, I am going to send you a copy of this. It'll be out there in just a couple minutes. I like to try to reread it. I make plenty of mistakes, so I want to reread it, make sure I don't have any mistakes in there. So that's what I have for today. Start working on this, finish up your movies database. Tomorrow's lab, I will be online, all right? And I will tell you that right now, I'm going to work on this till at least 3, but I may bug out of here an hour early today, all right? But if you've got questions, I will be online tonight. Feel free to email me. Other than that, I will see you tomorrow. I guess on Monday, I should say.